tend to stick to you after time. Places tend to do the same as we do. This river carries on and on.
Welcome to Kankakee Podcast, where we talk about the people and the places of Kankakee County. I'm Drew Razor, and today we are joined by Brady and Joy. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome. So let's start square one. So you guys have been in Kankakee for about 2 years, yeah?
Correct. Yeah, we moved here in July of 2023.
Nice.
Down from Joliet. So we have 7 kids, and we had homeschooled our kids for quite some time. But after a while, we decided that we really want to put them in a private Christian school. And a friend of ours told us about Grace Christian Academy.
Nice.
And so for a while, the kids commuted back and forth to school, but that was a bit too much. And so we decided to pack up and relocate to Kankakee.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. And so you said, how long have you guys been here for? One more time?
2 years.
2 years? Yeah. How's that been so far? When you guys got to the community, was it scary to come into a new place, or did you guys feel like you guys had a good footing?
It was really chaotic for us at the time. We had a lot going on. Mm-hmm. So we've been here for 2 years, but it doesn't feel like that because of just how chaotic our personal life was.
That's fair. Do you guys feel more settled now? You guys have been here for a little while, or still kind of crazy?
We're getting there.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
Surely?
Yeah.
Awesome. I think we settled in. I think one of the good things is we moved here while we didn't know a soul from Kankakee.
Right.
Our kids went to school down here, and so knowing that they went to school, they had friends, and so it allowed us to begin to make some connections. So we've settled in. Really appreciate the river.
Yes.
We like to kayak and paddleboard. So those have been fun activities for us to get out and do with our kids.
Yeah. I love kayaking. It's so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say it was very easy for our kids to move here and transition because they had been going to the school for a little while, so they had friends and everything was just like laid down for them. So that made it really easy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure. I grew up, so we moved a lot in the same town. So I went to about 5 different elementary schools. Mm-hmm. And that was the one thing I learned is that like when I made friends and they'd come over, well, then all of a sudden my parents had some friends too. So it kind of grew that community aspect a little bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for work?
So I've been to the same place for 18 years. So I work for an organization called Care Collective. It's in Chicago. We assist men and women affected by homelessness and poverty, essentially move into permanent jobs. So I run a part of the organization that runs for-profit businesses to employ our participants who are moving out of poverty. So I've been there I call myself Old Man Kara because I've just been there for so long.
That's great. That's super cool. What about you, Joy?
I just started working at Bourbon and Grove as a receptionist. I'm like part-time there.
Oh, cool. That's super cool. My fiance did an internship with them, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think the Grove is probably one of the coolest things that they've built around here recently. It's nice to have like a community space, a space where there's a stage and you can do shows and concerts, and it's very cool.
It's not the Grove.
It's not the Grove?
Not that Grove.
Bourbon and Grove, it's a retirement home.
Oh! Yeah. We'll cut that out. Sweet. Awesome.
No, that someone else has done that before, so you're not the first offender.
Okay, good. All right, at least I'm not the first one.
But it is a really fun job. I get to talk to the residents and just all the people there are really nice. It's a really nice place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Do you work with a lot of people who have been here for a very long time? Like a lot of the residents?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know everybody's personal stories, but I think so.
Yeah. That's what I learned. A lot of people who either moved to Kankakee or they've grown up here, they like to stay. And I love the community. I got here in 2020. Okay. So I went to Olivet Nazarene, was there for 4 years, 5 years actually, that's a lie. And I feel like slowly the community's just grown, and they've been doing a lot of remodeling, a lot of changing, a lot of road work. Mm-hmm. There have been roads closed everywhere I turn recently, but that's getting a little better.
Yeah, Hobby, my neighbor, that's one of the first things one of my neighbors struck with conversation was like, Hobby or Hopi, I can't really say it, but he's like, it's been closed for forever. But now when I come up from Kankakee, we live in West Kankakee over to Bradley, I'll take that once in a while because it's freshly paved and really designed. And
it's beautiful.
It's nice.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Well, the stoplight over by Texas Roadhouse and that place, there's a bridge that goes right before it. When I got here, I was here for 2 weeks and the bridge was totally fine. And then from the second week I started college until probably 2 months ago, that bridge was under construction, so it's nice. Yeah, nice paved roads, nice and smooth in the car. It makes drive a little easier, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So with your guys' move, you guys also have a daughter named Eloise.
Mhm.
And so from what I understand, she had cancer, correct? And she
Yes.
has rung the bell and is cancer-free at this point. Can you guys tell me a little bit about that story and how, like, you know, how from square one and where you're at now?
Yeah, and maybe I'll lay some of the groundwork and then I'll pass the mic to you, Joy. Like, I think one thing important to know is when a child gets cancer, there's no way to, like, if there's a tornado coming, you know, like, we can head to the basement, or if there's floods coming, let's get to higher ground. Something like that you can't really plan for. And like I had mentioned, we had decided to move to Kankakee. We actually had bought a house here in April, and we were getting ready to move. We had to sell our house in Joliet. So we had these, you know, these things in motion, these big life transitions of moving, settling down with even that on our radar. But we had bought the house in April. She was diagnosed in May. So the ball was moving. We had to move because we bought the house here, and we had to sell our place back in Joliet.
Yeah, and we didn't just buy a house. We bought a house that needed a lot of renovation, thinking we could do that.
Right.
And then we did do that, but it was very difficult.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So Eloise, she was just sick a lot in April and May. She just had, one day she'd have a fever, the next day she'd be fine. One day she was throwing up, the next day she'd be fine. It was just back and forth, like constantly. And then one Sunday in May, Brady told me, you need to come downstairs. Her lymph nodes had gotten so big, they looked like softballs in her neck. They were so big. So we took her to urgent care right away.
And if I can pause, at this point, she's 3 years old for context. So she's still very small. Kid.
Yeah. And so they told us she had strep. And so they gave us antibiotics. And my kids have had strep before. We don't get it a lot, but we've definitely had it before. And she got a little better, but not like you would expect. Usually the antibiotics knock it out pretty fast and you're good. So, you know, I can't remember. I don't even think it was a week later. She still wasn't doing well. And every once in a while, she would scream that her back hurt or her leg hurt. We thought she was being dramatic, but on a Friday, she just seemed miserable. She was so miserable. And then she started screaming that her back hurt. And I just said, this is not normal for a 3-year-old. We need to take her back. So, and
that night, it was a Friday night. I had gotten off work, and we lived in Joliet, real close to the University of St. Francis in the Cathedral District, and they would have concerts at the park. And so we'd go to the concert, they'd have live music there, which was enjoyable, and it was next to a playground. Mm-hmm. So our younger kids would love to go. Eloise would love to go. We'd sit, listen to music and talk. She would play, but that evening, she just sat by us and was miserable. Wow. And that's like an indication, like, this kid's not normal.
Up, right?
Yeah, because she loves the concerts.
Yeah, and I didn't want to wait over the weekend to make an appointment with her doctor. So I looked up on the website on urgent care, and they were like open for another hour. So I was like, we're just going to go. And we got there, and they had taken the last patient that they were going to take for the night. But they looked at her. She had developed this rash. What is it?
I can't even say it.
It's a rash that you get when your platelets are really low. It's basically like your blood vessels are like breaking open. And so they looked at her, and I was thinking maybe scarlet fever, because that's like could have developed from strep. And they looked at her and said, yeah, that might be it. And so they sent us to the emergency room. And then when we got there, they looked at her, and they knew pretty quickly that something wasn't right. And they started doing blood work. And
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so so we got to the urgent care. It was like 8 o'clock or something like that. And so we're sitting in this, this miserable child in a full Silver Cross waiting room in the emergency room. And it was probably an hour and a half before they saw her. But when they saw her, like, they started to move with some urgency.
Yeah. Because the sign said it was a 6-hour wait. So it was like, when they took her back so quickly, I started thinking something must be wrong.
Right.
And then, they definitely said, we don't know what it is. It could be this. It could be that. They mentioned cancer. And then when we got her blood work back, her platelets were extremely low, like dangerously low. Her white blood cells were really high. She was anemic. So in my mind started going, cancer.
Right.
But Brady, he's very optimistic. And so his mind said, a virus could do that too.
Right.
It's just a virus.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, then they came back in and said, we're going to send you to Lurie's and they're going to test for leukemia. And when he said specifically leukemia, I thought, okay, they really think that's what it is. But Brady still was just like,
it's a virus.
It's a
Professionals
virus.
always know everything.
Right.
But they did, yeah. So they put Joy and Eloise, I don't know what time it was, 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe, something like that. It was very...
I think we got to Lurie's at like midnight.
Okay, yeah. So they put them in an ambulance. So I thought, well, this is relatively serious that they're putting them in an ambulance at this time of night and truck them to the hospital on a early Saturday morning. And so I went home, just grabbed a couple things to take to the hospital and met them there.
And how far is Lurie's from where you guys were at?
About an hour. It was, so Silver Cross is in New Lenox.
Gotcha.
So
It was late, so there wasn't a lot of traffic.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So as soon as we got there, they took us up to the 18th floor, which I didn't know what that meant. But, pretty much as soon as we got there, they told me, we looked at her, like the Silver Cross sent us the blood work. They saw that it looked like leukemia. We confirmed it. They didn't want to make the diagnosis. They wanted us to do that, which I'm really thankful they did that because, I'm sure Lurie's is much better at giving that diagnosis. But, they said, we're going to redo the test in our own lab, but we are very certain that that's what it is. And we're going to start treatment right away. So then Brady walks in, all confident that this is nothing.
Minor.
I'm in shock. So I just blurted out, she has leukemia. And he just the shock on his face was just... I felt so bad because he was not prepared. My mind had been starting to prepare. I kept hoping that he was right and trying to think positively like that, but my mind definitely had said multiple times that night, this does not sound like just a virus.
It's that mom instinct, you can just tell. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was hoping for the best, and when it was kind of confirmed, it was overwhelming with emotion for both of us.
I can
both
imagine.
Responded a bit different. And frankly, to be totally transparent, I had heard of leukemia. I had seen the jars on counter. I have, made a purchase and was suggested to donate to the leukemia lymphomas, those sort of things that you see. But I thought it was like some childhood disease. I didn't know that it was cancer. So when they said it was leukemia, I was like, oh, what is that? And your reaction was pretty...
I knew what leukemia was.
I know, but as far as your, I remember one thing you go into the bathroom and you're just...
Yeah, Eloise's favorite part of the story is that I was so upset because leukemia, I did know what leukemia was, but I didn't know as much about it then. And to me, leukemia was like...
a death sentence, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, it was 50 years ago or whatever. So I didn't know that there were good treatments out there. I was so sick. Probably at 6 o'clock in the morning, I just kept running to the bathroom, throwing up. I was just so distraught thinking, I might have to watch her die. And I just wanted to run away. And I felt so terrible for wanting to run away because I thought, I love this girl so much that I would do anything for her, but I want to run away and not have to go through her dying.
Absolutely.
And so... her favorite story, though, is that I was throwing up in the bathroom. But, I had to go home. I had to get some rest. I had been up for probably 36 hours or something like that. So I went home. And then when I came back, had they already taken her to get the
port put in?
No, I don't think they had.
No, that was
another
Monday.
day.
Yeah.
When I came back, the doctor met with us and she told us we have great treatments. And we wouldn't say that unless it was for real. We're not just trying to make you feel better.
Right.
And she was like, the chances of her having a successful treatment and never having to deal with this again are 80%. And so then it was okay, I lived off of that relief for months. Through the worst part of the treatment, I lived on that relief of, this is horrible, but she's going to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we had that going. We had that going on. She was hospitalized after her initial diagnosis for about a week.
Yeah.
So you think about kind of things happened Friday night. Rushed to Lurie's. She had, I think it was Monday or Tuesday morning, where they put in a port, which is really great because they were, everything was through IV, poking her arm every day to get new blood, work for her, which caused a lot of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
They were pumping full of steroids, which made her very grouchy. But, within 4 or 5 days, she had her port in. She had her first doses of chemotherapy. They do a lumbar puncture where they put chemo into her spinal fluid because leukemia likes to hide out in certain areas, and so they had to do that as well. And then we had, at the same time, like I said, we had 7 kids. Our oldest was a senior in high school. She was diagnosed on Friday. Second oldest. His graduation at Grace was that Friday night.
Oh wow!
So she's in the hospital. We knew that it was maybe she was going to be released in time. But
I actually asked them not to. It was scarier for me to try to think of how we would take care of her at home and make it to the graduation than knowing she was in the hospital being perfectly well cared for and we could just go and come back.
Right. She's surrounded by the professionals keeping her safe.
Yeah,
right.
and they were totally fine with that. So,
nice.
Yeah, so we had a friend come stay with her during the graduation. We made it to our son's graduation, which was great and very important. I mean, that whole time of our life is a bit of a blur, I
can imagine,
yeah. So we got her home, and it felt like we had a newborn baby again, which we had raised 7 newborn babies, but it
was
felt like
terrifying.
You're trusting us to take a child home that was on the verge of death, that now we have to do all these different things for. Right. So we felt like, brand new parents. And one thing that's funny is, not funny, kind of funny, I guess. But when children go through this initial phase of their treatment, they regress. So some stop speaking. Eloise stopped walking for over a month. But they also, if they're potty trained, sometimes they revert. So we had been on a walk probably 2-3 weeks before, and Eloise had just got fully potty trained, like daytime and nighttime. Which, if you have kids, Drew, you'll find out like that's a huge blessing. But I was recounting. I was like, 7 kids, and they took. I think we changed like 25,000 diapers.
Right.
And here we were, like, now we're back into diapers.
We were totally celebrating being done with that. And then just with the pain level she was in, it was just too hard for her to have to get up and go to the bathroom. Right. And we just went right back to diapers.
Absolutely.
And then she ended up having a compression fracture at the bottom of her spine just from the damage that the cancer did to her bones. And then she was on really high levels of steroids for a month, and that also can damage bones. So she was in a lot of pain, and she stopped walking. We didn't actually know what was going on, but she stopped walking, and she was in a lot of pain. She couldn't sit in her car seat for more than like 5 minutes without screaming. And we had over an hour-long drive every week to Lurie's. She just screamed the whole way. But we also didn't know, was it pain? Was it fear? Right. Because she was not looking forward to going in for that treatment. So it was really, really hard.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And I think I think it's easy in these stories to get really focused on the person who's most affected, which is Eloise. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of other kids. We have all our family we're originally from out of state. And so we had no family here. And so, as I mentioned, like, we have a house that was going on the market, and it went on the market. Did we put on the market the week that she was diagnosed?
Yeah, right before she was diagnosed, we put it on the market.
And so now, fortunately, our oldest son, who was in college in Louisville, he came back for the summer and had trouble finding a job, which actually was God's providence. Yeah, because he could stay home with our other kids and kind of make sure things didn't fall apart. And then we were getting texts from our real estate agent saying, "Hey, we have a showing. Mm-hmm. We're in the hospital with a kid with cancer." So our oldest son and some of our older kids would kind of make sure the house was clean. They would exit the house and go away for a little bit, and they'd show the house. And so fortunately, we could offer, and we had the house sold. We were not finished packing when she was diagnosed, and so we had friends from our church and our community and Juliet come help us.
Well, my mom did all the packing. Basically, my poor mom, she would be trying to ask me, what do you want to do with this? What do you want to do with that? I was like, I don't care. Just
put it in a
pack it
box.
all up. But, she was just trying to do what we would want. And she didn't know it was, yeah. So, but she came and stayed with us for a month and we had started packing, but she pretty much packed us up. Yeah, that was a blessing too, and just helped. Mm-hmm.
And the same thing when we went down here, like I said, we didn't know a lot of people. And we mentioned that we're moving here July 1st, 1st of July, whatever. Mm-hmm. And just a lot of people, I had no idea. Our kids knew some of the kids, and their parents just showed up. And we had droves of people, especially that first day, just come and like, we're bringing, and again, when you move a family of 9, you just have lots of stuff. And a lot of that's just
I'm sure.
containers of hand-me-downs, for forever. And so we had just people we didn't know come down and unpack stuff for us. And, it was phenomenally encouraging. So, looking at the community, a bunch of strangers in Kankakee we didn't know. And, there's a lot of people who came and intervened in our life that we didn't know so well. So I know you had Jeff Cross on the podcast. Mm-hmm. So our family was the first beneficiary of the Ordinary Dads.
Awesome.
Grace Christian Academy. This is, we're recording this in September. Mm-hmm. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. They do a gold each year, and they did like a little fundraiser to help support and offset some of our costs, but also kind of celebrate Eloise and the treatment she's been going through for the last, the first 2 years of that. They did that. I think they're gonna do it again this month.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Shine FM, like they had us be a family at a concert. The list could go on, and I'll miss people like fire buddies here with the local firefighters. They came and they're part of a larger organization that provide gifts to families going through illness with their children. And not only they would buy little gifts for Eloise, big gifts actually, they'd buy stuff for our other 6 kids. So it wasn't like a small financial investment. Right. So the community of Kankakee, while we didn't know a lot of people, it's an understatement to say we felt cared for and loved by a bunch of people we didn't know, nor did we ask for any kind of help.
That's awesome. That is so great. You guys mentioned, so it sounds like you guys are Christians, yes?
Yeah.
How has faith played a role in this? Because I know myself that is, at times when stuff gets hard, I forget that that I should turn to faith in that time. How did that play a role in your guys' time?
Yeah, I'll say like in Joliet, we were really connected to our church. We had been part of that church for almost 20 years. And so the move was very difficult for us to leave that church.
Yeah.
And then we came down here and we, spent some time looking for a church, but you always have your relationship with God. And, you don't know when you go through, like I wasn't thinking, man, this big thing is going to happen. And so I'm going to prepare. I'm going to grow in my intimacy with God more than ever. Because I know in May of 2023, Eloise is going to be diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
And, sometimes you are not, I think sometimes you simply rest that God is, he has control. He's providential. He brings these things into play for our care and for our love. And sometimes they absolutely don't make sense. And sometimes you're not living in the way that you would want to, like, am I spending enough time reading my Bible or praying or doing whatever? Like sometimes those things don't happen the way, and I think that's the way that God is. Like he loves us. He cares for us. He's the one who redeems us, and it's his son who's representing us. And so you do your best to follow him by his power, but ultimately he's the one who's carrying the ball into the end zone, not me.
Absolutely. That's great.
And we did talk about, there were a lot of things that in our minds weren't well planned, but there were also a lot of things that fell into place really perfectly, like us living here while she was going through treatment so close to the school, that we didn't have to change schools so that the kids would be closer. But, we were really well supported at that school. They really poured out love towards us. And we did know people at the school. It wasn't like everyone was a stranger to us, but so there were a lot of things that the Lord did put in place for us to
our son not finding a job, which is bad news, but our oldest son didn't find a job that summer she was diagnosed, and he was able to stay home and help with the kids while we were gone. I think and there are other things that happen. Again, you can't plan for things, like you can't plan for these things, like she was working and had a job that she loved. It had a really flexible schedule, so she could kind of control when she was going to work and when she wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a back injury, which eventually ended in a ruptured disc, and she needed surgery. But for about almost a year, like she was very limited. She couldn't stand because of sciatic pain and things like that. And ultimately had surgery. While all this is going on, while she's trying to care for Eloise and unpack boxes and all those sort of things,
I can't imagine.
where she essentially couldn't stand for more than 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. That was hard. I didn't have the injury on the job, but my job was very active and physical, and I couldn't do it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So with this, which this story is amazing. Thank you guys for sharing it so much. I cannot relate to anything, but it's awesome to hear your guys' story and how you guys have gone through that. So we've talked about the Christian aspect. We've talked about how it was like in the moment with your kids and how they've helped, that kind of stuff. I'm not a dad. I have 2 cats, so I like to say I'm a cat dad. Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine, first of all, hearing that news and having that moment of like, oh my gosh. Because, I mean, if I heard leukemia, I would also be terrified. Do I fully know what leukemia is? Not really. Mm-hmm. But my mom's a nurse, so I understand some stuff. How did you guys together handle that? Because it's shocking. It's scary. How do you guys hear that and then keep going?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were in shock.
Oh, 100%.
And so
I don't, for the record, I don't cry. I think I've cried twice since we're married, or 3 times since we're married. And that was one time when I cried in 24 years.
I'm sure, yeah.
I feel like there was just so much going on. I don't know that we necessarily comforted each other or dealt with each other, but we're definitely a very tight team. So, I think we worked together pretty well, but there were times of strain. Like there were times the level of stress I can't even put into words. Mm-hmm. And I physically was in so much pain through that whole thing just because of the stress. Yeah. So there were times when it felt very tense. And I remember times of saying, I know it's because of the situation, but I feel so frustrated with you, and I feel like you're so frustrated with me, and it just was hard. But just recognizing this is not our relationship. This is the stress that's going on, and it can really break a relationship. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, but we do work good as a team, and we do support each other pretty well.
I continue to be the optimist, and she's the realist. Another group in the story is our other 6 kids, especially those that are still at home. Especially the younger they are, the more they probably felt the impact of this. Right. So Eloise is the youngest of the 7. And so odds of probability is we keep having kids, it's something. But Ambrose is 4 years older than Eloise. And so they're the closest in age. It probably bothered him the most because his sister's sick and he wanted to play with somebody. And when she was jacked up on steroids,
she was mean.
She was a raging bear.
Yeah.
And he was the one that was closest to her all the time. So often he was in her crosshairs.
Yeah. He learned some really grown-up lessons. When people are in pain, they can act badly. He learned that. But he also really struggled with, she got a lot of attention. She got a lot of toys. She got a lot of everything.
Yeah, right.
And so that was hard for him too. But we just tried to find ways to do special things for him whenever we could. Yeah. But really every single child struggled during that time. Even, our second oldest, who was an adult and had just graduated, he struggled with just us not being around and not making dinner and just him having to help out with the kids and everything. He struggled. They all struggled, Yeah,
because of the way in which you parent a kid who's going through an illness, who not only has the physical aspects, but also all the emotional and trauma that she is. Yeah. Don't show that girl a needle because she'll knock you out, Drew.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, so she's dealing with all that. And the other kids looking well, that's not necessarily how you raised us, or that's not how you would respond to us in those circumstances. Mm-hmm. And so, helping lead them, and Lord knows we didn't do it perfectly, but help lead them why things are different now, because we're no longer driving our car on a flat surface. We're climbing a mountain on a rocky road. It's a totally different situation.
I'm sure. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I have two younger siblings, and they both struggle with that. Whenever like my younger brother gets something, my middle brother who's like, "What the heck? That wouldn't happen." I couldn't imagine, as well as like, because that it's a different situation. It's like, yeah, I may be handling this differently, but also these are totally new circumstances. Yeah, I can imagine. So you guys have talked about the full story. So you guys are here now. And it was in 2023. So about 2 years ago. Am I doing my math right?
Yes.
Yeah.
2.5.
2.5. Yeah. So how are you guys now? Like, where are you guys at this point?
Well, so Eloise, treatment for leukemia is very long. So we've been in treatment this whole time.
Gotcha.
For the first 8 months, it was every week we went in, and the treatment was very harsh, and she really felt terrible. She lost her hair, all of the things that you think about. And then from then until now, it's been once a month we go. She takes chemo at home every day. But life has been a lot more normal since we hit that phase. But she just took her last chemo the end of July, and she rang the bell the beginning of August.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I'm trying not to cry at the same time. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it was special. And like I said, our family were out of state in Ohio. And so it just happened we were on vacation in Ohio in July. And there's this general store with this little event space. Shout out to the Oliver General Store, I guess. But they hosted us back there. And so family and friends came who've been watching us from a distance, on social media, and her take her last dose of chemo in front of everybody, and just big cheers. Everybody had ice cream. And Eloise, she can take 8 or 9 pills at once. Like she started doing it when she was 3 or 4 years old, just gobbling pills because of, her treatment.
Yeah.
And so we went from her initial induction, her treatment, and because during the treatment, they're killing all her white blood cells, reducing her immunity, lots of hospitalization. She was famous for being in hospital on holidays, whether it's 4th of July, Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, every major holiday, we were in the hospital. Spending the holiday there, which strangely she began to enjoy the hospital because they would wait on her hand and
I'm sure
her meals she could order. There were games she could play on the TV. Like she kind of liked the hospital. But now to kind of be at this last phase, and now just going forward, looking at right now she's fighting every week and she's getting hives right now, just probably a reaction to coming off of things. But looking, working with the team there, looking for how we can best support her going forward. So all the side effects that happen as kids grow up, some are reproductive related, or different things that happen to kids as they grow. But Lord willing, she won't relapse, and she'll continue to head in the right direction.
Absolutely.
The reality is, I think, like ending treatment and ringing the bell was really exciting, but we aren't really done. We still go to Lori's once a month. We're going to be spreading that out a little bit, but now we're going to be testing to see, some different things like how did chemo affect her, and we'll be looking for side effects that are going to pop up throughout her life. So it's not really done. And now she had her port removal, and when we first began treatment, them accessing her port was like horrible. It was really awful, but she finally got used to it after a while, and it wasn't that hard. Now they took that out, and so she's still having blood work every month, and they have to do it through her arm now, and that is like very difficult for her. So we're like starting all over in some ways. We're thankful that it's over, but it's not really over.
Yeah. Has she gotten any of her like spunk back in this time frame as she's, gone through this, or is it still she's still kind of mellowed out?
Oh no, I would say, so like in January of 2024, we went to like a different phase like I had talked about. And I would say starting then she started to like act more normal, and now she is pretty much normal. She still has some complaints, like, she'll still complain that her head hurts or that something hurts more than I feel like a normal kid would. But for the most part, she has a lot of energy.
Too much.
She has a lot of energy. She loves everybody. She loves attention. So
I'm sure. That's awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys want to cover on before we head out?
I don't know. I mean, I think like the whole thing about, you don't know what life's gonna, what's gonna happen in your life, and you really can't prepare for those things. And I think, part of our journey and part of our faith is like, ultimately you got to trust God, because you're not going to have the parachute sometimes when you get pushed out of the plane, and you're just going to have to, lean on Him. But we've been very fortunate by the community around us, whether it's family or people here or people back in Joliet, just being wonderful and kind and thoughtful and just surprise us in so many ways.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see what's next for you guys, because with my faith, when hard things come up, the way I look at it is that the enemy strikes the hardest when the best things are around the corner. So it seems like he's been striking really hard with you guys recently. So I'm excited to see what you guys do. And I think that you guys, which I'm sure you guys know, just sharing this story, I mean, even for me, it makes an impact. And it really just shows that, when times do get hard, it's, you guys have each other, you guys have your other kids. And I think that even in this conversation, it shows you guys are a tight family, and it's awesome to see, and it's really heartwarming. So thank you so much for coming on, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
This river